612. Again, Khenpo Kunpal in his commentary on 611 quotes the Tantra that resolves all secrets, where it says, any conduct devoid of the view, or any view devoid of conduct, these two are transgressions of secret mantra pledges and lead to rebirth as a hell being in the realm of ceaseless torment. So this we have to keep in mind, this very strong kind of reminder, warning for us. Especially, some people when they get into secret mantra practice, for some reason, some people think, oh, this is where rules don't apply anymore. On the contrary, it's as Atisha says, as the vows evolve higher and higher, they become tighter and tighter. They become tighter and tighter from the perspective of meaning, not that your feeling, become like more and more bound. And when he says that the vows, as they progress from individual liberation to bodhisattva to secret mantra samayas, they become tighter and tighter. What he's talking about is that we can see, we should be able to see more and more subtle faults, tighter and tighter in that sense. We can see what was on the individual liberation vows, the disciplined conduct at the individual liberation vows. It seems like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. When you move into, when your vows, when your precepts evolve into the bodhisattva training level, you see that, oh, actually, there's still a lot of gross obscurations. And then as this evolves into the secret mantra level, then you see, oh, even what at the bodhisattva vow level seems pretty done with, finished. On the secret mantra level, you can see, oh, actually, it's still there in such a subtle form. So then the vows becomes tighter and tighter in that sense. So 612, Kyobpa Rinpoche says, view, meditation, and conduct are not distinct, but they are one. They are unified. This statement was made to counter the understanding that says view, practice, and conduct are three separate things. So in the most kind of extreme form, there were some especially very learned in book learning during Kyobpa Rinpoche's times. They were so careful about studying and keeping all the texts, memorizing texts and memorizing all the different things that different texts are saying. And so then they have come up with a big system. And so the Dharma that liberates, has been turned into a system that both yourself and other people expects to be like a perfectly written, airtight, everything in agreement kind of system. Which actually, from the perspective of practice, it's an artificial grid. Right? It's an artificial grid that if you know how to skillfully apply it, it can help you see the Dharma more clearly. But then if you consider the grid to be the actual Dharma itself, then I think we will run into problems. And so like in the world of anthropology, I remember there was an anthropologist in the study of religion. He popularized this expression, Map is not territory. Map is just, a reference point, a conceptual framework, that people put as a grid over land. But map is not territory. Or the other one that I like to say is, the menu is not the meal. So anyway, these scholars will say, you got to keep view as view, practice as practice, and conduct, and you should not confuse the three. So they emphasize distinguishing one from the other. Kyobpa Rinpoche, on the other hand, emphasizes see the connection between one and the other. I think in some ways, as a beginner, it's better to see the distinctive. What distinguishes this from this, and this from this, and this from this? For example, what distinguishes, between bodhicitta and merely love and compassion? And then what distinguishes between relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta? I think there's something that is very helpful to be able to say, this is what distinguishes. In fact, earlier in the Gongchik, Kyobpa does a little bit of that, where he says, what defines you as someone who practices the Dharma or not, which in our translations it says Buddhist and non-Buddhist, but the Tibetan really means, are you an insider or are you an outsider? So how to distinguish between insider and outsider? Kyobpa Rinpoche says solely on the basis of have you taken refuge or have you not taken refuge. So there clearly he's drawing some lines and he wants us to see where those fault lines are. Where do you cross from one to the other part, to the other side? Likewise, he says, then after you have entered the Dharma, what is the line between practicing with individual liberation motivation and practicing with a universal motivation? He says, then in that case, it is bodhicitta. In that case, bodhicitta is what separates between, are we practicing primarily just concerned about ourselves, or we're practicing out of a concern for all? So other places he distinguishes, but overall, what he wants to emphasize is that they are all unified. That is another translation for Gongchik, the unified realization, the unified mind, the unified intention of the Buddhas. Chik is one, but chik can also mean unify, whole, complete. And so between these two approaches, I think again, as a beginner, it is good, it is important to be able to see and distinguish one thing from another. But as we progress along, we have to be able to see how also, and this is Kyobpa's emphasis, I would say, how all the different levels and different aspects of teachings and trainings, they all form a unified whole. And understanding this basic premise of everything forms a unified whole, everything is part of a complete path towards awakening, we do not then so quickly look at different aspects of training that the Buddha gave and say, oh, this is relevant, this is relevant, this is not, this is not, this is necessary, this is not necessary, oh, this is just preliminary, oh, this is more profound, this is less profound, and make choices like this. Like picking and choosing. Rather, we have this attitude of everything is folded into this single path to awakening. So the 84,000 dharmas are not 84,000 possibilities or 84,000 possible ways of achieving Buddhahood. Certainly, there are places in the sutras and tantras and in their commentaries where that statement, the notion of 84,000 dharmas, there are places where you're going to find, whether it's in the sutras or tantras or the commentaries or the sub-commentaries that say the Buddha offered 84,000 ways for us to practice. So choose one to practice. For sure, you're going to come across statements like this. But again, Kyobpa's special emphasis is to say, while you could do that, a much better way to do it is to have this understanding, more basic understanding, that all 84,000 are part and parcel of the complete path to awakening. Then you say, well, what is there any difference? Because practically, isn't it the case that I can only do one practice or two practice? I cannot do 84,000. Practically, again, I think if we see every teaching, every practice, every aspect of the teaching, every aspect of the training as part and parcel of a single path, then we don't need to feel the burden of, do I choose this? Do I choose this? Do I choose this? Do I choose this? Maybe this is better. Maybe that is better. Maybe this is more profound. Maybe that is more preliminary. Maybe this is more advanced. And then we get very lost, constantly. And especially living in the times that we live in, more than ever, every one of us, even those who are still hunter-gatherers, we are living at a time where we have way more choices than any of our ancestors ever had. Way more choices in everything. Everything that you want to buy, everything that you want to get rid of, there are way more choices. And so this is based on this idea that, more choices, better. But I don't think that is true. More choices means, harder to make a decision and stick with it. So today this, tomorrow that. Now, today this, tomorrow that itself is not yet a problem. It is only a problem if you think, oh, today this, oh no, this is not working, tomorrow that. So that would be based on the idea of, out of the 84,000 ways, there is the one way that suits me the best. Oh, now you have to eliminate 83,999. Good luck eliminating 83,999 to find your one. But if you do all the practice, whatever comes your way, that you feel inspired to practice, and understanding that fundamentally all our practices is to cultivate the two bodhicittas. Once you have that, all our practices is to cultivate the two bodhicittas, then it doesn't really matter anymore what method. Or, not that it doesn't matter, it matters, but it's secondary matter, not primary matter. So, Kyobpa's style is always, almost always to emphasize seeing them as one and no contradiction, especially. So to those who say, view, practice, and conduct are to be treated as three separate things. And then from there, therein lies the problem with thinking view, meditation, and conduct needs to be three separate things. Oh, this is conduct language, conduct vocabulary, doesn't apply in view, This is view language, doesn't apply in meditation. Yeah, again, you could distinguish things in this way. But be careful not to distinguish it in this way, to then lead you to a situation where you say, oh, view and conduct seems to be opposed. Oh, what should I compromise? Oh, then we remember passages that say, oh, view, you should never compromise. Conduct, you can compromise. Maybe, maybe not, To say that conduct, you can compromise, and view, you cannot compromise, even when it says something like that. So I shared with some of you this quote from Aryadeva that says, between view and conduct, you can let conduct deteriorate, you should not let view deteriorate. That statement, if you don't understand what Aryadeva is saying, you can get in a lot of trouble. Aryadeva is not saying, if you let your conduct deteriorate, there is no negative karma. He's not saying that. He's just saying, or he's making the point that, between the two, if ever there's someone who takes a gun and point at you and say, choose one, you choose deteriorating conduct, because even if you are doing that, right, deteriorating conduct, compromising conduct, you're doing it reluctantly. Your view protects you from the temporary compromise of your conduct from growing cancerous. As opposed to, right, you say, I'm going to keep conduct. Now, when that happens, the most immediate negative result would be the negative result of having compromised your disciplined conduct. If, on the other hand, you let your view deteriorate, oh, that will become cancerous. Then even if it looks like you're keeping the conduct, it's coming from a wrong place. It's coming from a wrong place. It's coming from a confused place. So like you say, oh, that person have no attachment. Oh, that person has no attachment because he hates the world. That's not renunciation. That's not a determination to be free. That's just, that person hates the world. So that kind of non-attachment will not free you. So this is in reference, right, to that quote from Aryadeva. So don't ever think that Aryadeva is saying, oh, if you let your disciplined conduct deteriorate, it's okay. No negative karma. Oh, no. Negative karma will come, No mistake with the workings of karma. But anyway, if you try to follow Kyobpa's way, then, in theory at least, you will not so frequently put yourself in a situation where you think, oh, view, meditation, and conduct, they could contradict. So instead, whenever you feel that there's some kind of contradiction, you remember what Kyobpa says and you say, wait, from what Kyobpa emphasizes is they never contradict. So what am I not seeing in this situation that I feel that I have to compromise my conduct, or I have to compromise the view, or I have to compromise the meditation? And so hear this statement, view, the conduct, the view, and meditation are not distinct but one. So, Khenpo Kunpal's commentary says, likewise, the precious discipline is the conduct that enhances the view and meditation. So when we talk about this disciplined conduct, what is the purpose of the disciplined conduct? One of the purposes of maintaining disciplined conduct is because by maintaining disciplined conduct, it can enhance our view and our meditation, our practice. These three are in essence indivisible. They are not distinct but one, in that they are free from all afflictions such as attachment and aversion. Yeah, so then whether on the level of disciplined conduct, whether on the level of view or on the level of, not level, whether in the context of disciplined conduct, in the context of view or in the context of meditation or practice, understand that they all are coming from a place where both attachment and aversion has been dispelled. So the last Vajra statement, right, that says the true meaning of a conduct that is not accepting or rejecting is not conduct that is lacking discipline. Conduct that is not informed by an understanding of what causes happiness and what causes suffering, but rather the conduct that is free from accepting and rejecting is talking about the conduct that is free from attachment and aversion. And so here it says, they are not distinct but one, in that they all teach, they all encourage, they are all based on freedom from afflictions such as attachment and aversions. Since one does not oppose the others, they become mutual assistance that enhance each other. Therefore, Jigten Sumgon instructs us not to be rough but precise with our conduct. So we have to refine our conduct, refine our disciplined conduct. In refining this disciplined conduct, again, sometimes we translate Shila, which is the Sanskrit for disciplined conduct, as morality or moral ethics. Yes, of course, it covers clearly the domain that we call morality or moral ethics, but it's more than that, in that it's also about conduct, disciplined conduct. So it talks about, for example, in Shantideva's chapter on meditative concentration, he discusses the importance of disciplined conduct to help us not get so easily distracted. So he gets down to some very specific matters of disciplined conduct. He says, as you walk, have your gaze forward. From time to time, look up, kind of survey the area, but don't, basically don't do this. Right? Even something like that, how you sit, how you stand, because they are all to enhance presence of mind. But not in the militaristic, rigid way, attention, not in that way, but slowly cultivating, being more and more aware, being more and more present. So then even down to things like, if you're sitting on the ground, on the field on a nice summer day, sometimes you find yourself like, wait, what am I doing? And the next thing you know is you look and there's a pile of grass that you have just pulled out. Right? You have just cut off a whole bunch of grass, in a pile. Why? I don't know. Just itchy hands, So in the Bodhisattva teachings, it says, Bodhisattvas, even though we say plants and trees is not one of the 6 forms of rebirth, but even towards that, which is not considered sentient or fully sentient, even towards grass, it says Bodhisattvas should not harm them. But we just absent-mindedly, no presence of mind. So then we all have our own lack of presence of mind habits we just do, If you have hair, twirling your hair. If you don't have hair, just, without thinking, just, it's like, why? With disciplined conduct, you don't just do whatever that comes to mind. Right? It's to enhance presence and awareness and mindfulness, right? But again, not in a rigid way. It's just in a way that is naturally cultivated that you become more and more aware. Less and less distracted. Since it is like that, Jigten Sumgon said that when one has understood the difference between false and genuine view, meditation and conduct and so forth, then one should abandon the false ones. Moreover, the second Buddha, the Venerable Longchenpa, gave the following innermost essence of pith instructions. And so he quotes, Khenpo Kunpal quotes from Longchenpa. A false view, a pretended freedom from elaboration that is without deep confidence. With this, one deceives one's own mind. A false meditation, a foolish, speculative meditation that does not hit the key points. With this, one deceives one's own mind. A false conduct, a crazy and rough conduct that is not conscientious. With this, one deceives one's own mind. False pledges, false samayas, being hypocritical about the vows to be kept and without care about faults and transgressions. With this, one deceives one's own mind. False studies and contemplation, wishing to become a famous scholar without wishing to attain Buddhahood. With this, one deceives one's own mind. A false result, aspiring for the future without realizing the nature of mind. With this, one deceives one's own mind. It is very important not to fall under the sway of deception. Don't kid yourself. Self-deception. Don't kid yourself. This is the quote from Longchenpa. Yeah? So if we look at Dorje and Rinchen Changjup, these two early commentaries of the Gongchik, gives the analogy of farming. He says, because one has done agricultural work, it is sure that there will be a harvest. That is the view. So the view, he says, in terms of like view, practice, and conduct, view, meditation, and conduct is, here it's talking actually about karma, That means if you know you have planted the seeds, then you know the results will ripen. So develop certainty, clarity about that, and dispel all, doubts. Then you have the view. Then forming a strong urge concerning that, is the practice. Then, so the second one, what is usually translated as meditation or practice, is more about the keeping the inner determination. The view is about discerning. Oh, this is how it is. The practice that is reinforcing in your mind and your hearts. So that's the purpose of meditation, reinforcing that conviction. Ah, this is how it is. Then he says, then agricultural work done with strong effort, that is the conduct. The agricultural work done with strong effort. So here the explanation of view, meditation, and conduct here suggests, here is emphasizing that view is having the right attitude, having the right understanding. Ah, this is how things work. Then meditation, why do you engage in meditation? Is to keep you focused. Like, yes, I really need to plant, these seeds. I need to water them. I cannot be lazy. Again and again, you remind yourself. And then the third, now go out, actually put the seed in the ground. Actually rake your ground. Take out stones. Mix in sand if there's too much clay. So the agricultural work done with strong effort, that is conduct. Here, Professor Zobish, he says, the commentaries do not further explain this illustration. they just give it like that. They don't say any further. Right? Then he says, however, one interpretation that suggests itself is that the certainty of the connection between agricultural work and harvest illustrates reliance on dependent origination and the fundamental nature, both representing the view. Karmic causality, dependent origination, that is the fundamental nature. In the commentary for the last Vajra statement, there is, it says, samsara and nirvana are therefore the embodiment of virtue and non-virtue. As in, nirvana is the embodiment of virtue, samsara is the embodiment of non-virtue. And that embodiment is nothing but the fundamental nature. So here, Professor Zobish says, however, one interpretation that suggests itself is that the certainty of the connection between agricultural work and harvest illustrates reliance on dependent origination and the fundamental nature, both representing view. The strong urge to accomplish the harvest illustrates the resolve for awakening and for all subsequent practices. And finally, a strong effort in actual agricultural work illustrates an engagement that accords with both, which represents conduct. Conduct then is working hard in your field based on the certainty, If I want lettuce, I have to put in lettuce seeds. I have to provide, protect the lettuce seeds as they're sprouting from sun that is too strong. All those are the interdependencies, are the conditions that need to be gathered. So this is 6:12. Okay, so this is 612. Let me look at one thing. Okay, never mind. I'm checking in the front to see if Rinchen Chanchup tells us, if any of these statements should be read alongside any of the statements in chapter 8. It seems like this chapter on view, meditation, and conduct, it's not until statement 14 that there is a statement in chapter 8 that needs to be brought together and read side by side. So don't forget this very useful linking of the statements in the 7 main chapters with statements that are found in the 8th chapter. And the 8th chapter is like an auxiliary chapter where statements also made by Jigten Sumgon, but is considered repetitive because they already turn up in another way in the other statements in chapter 7. So those statements are put in chapter 8. There's about 40 something statements there. What Rinchen Chanchup has done is to link statements in chapter 8 with different statements in the other 7 chapters. Sometimes the two statements are more or less say the same thing, so maybe not so interesting. But other times, these statements kind of inform each other, where Rinchen Chanchup says, okay, here you cannot only just read the statement, know that another statement that seems to say the opposite thing also exists. So then you have to read these two together to have the bigger picture. So it's also important for us to remember this. We don't read these statements like like they are again rigidly no contradiction. Oh well, it says in this statement. So that's like the fundamentalist. Well, this statement, this chapter says this. That's it. End of story. No. There are many other statements in many other chapters that you also need to bring together in the same neighborhood. And then you understand, this statement is saying like this because there are 3 other statements to kind of balance things out. So this is an important aspect of how to read these Vajra statements. So as they say, you can misquote even the Bible, and the person who can quote the Bible second best after God is the devil. No one knows the Bible better than the devil except for God. So don't be careful that we don't turn into the devil by quoting here, quoting there, and not understanding the big picture. So that's why, again, Kyobpa Rinpoche's style is to bring together the big picture, the wholeness, the completeness, the entire 84,000 aspects of Dharma consisting as the single path to awakening. Okay, now we do our dedication. Page 10. Sublime, precious, venerable, and glorious, root and lineage gurus, assembly of Idam deities, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, dwelling in the 10 directions, and all assemblies of Viras, Viranis, Yoginis, and Dakinis, please heed me. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana and the inherent root of virtue, not result in the eight worldly dharmas, the four causes of samsara, and the resultant states of hearers and solitary realizers. And may all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, particularly those enemies who hate us, obstructors who harm those who create obstacles, Maras who mislead, and their Mara retinues have happiness, be separated from suffering, and quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, and precious Bodhi by the power of this vast root of virtue. May we benefit sentient beings with body, speech, and mind. May the afflictive thoughts of attachment, aversion, ignorance, pride, and jealousy not arise in my mind stream. May thoughts of fame, gain, respect, and so forth in this life not arise for even a moment. With my mind stream moistened by love, compassion, and bodhicitta, may I come under the care of virtuous spiritual friends, and having become as limitless as space, may I achieve the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life by the virtues collected in the three times by me, and the entirety of samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Bodhi. Okay, ta-ta all of you.